Hey all my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel, where we embrace our femininity, increase our womanly value, and celebrate our brothers. So join me on our feminine journey to learn, heal, and grow. Hello. Thank you, Frederick, for kicking off the contributions. Thank you, Bighorn J, for your plate. Thank you so very much. We just gonna continue what we started yesterday. We had some interesting dialogue spark up. Oh, Harry passed? Harry Belafonte passed? So it's all three of them? Harry, Jim, and Tina. Rest in peace to all three of them. Really? Wow. Okay. Okay. So let's continue what we were talking about. But before I get into the story of The Color Purple and its breakdown on the brainwashing of black women, there were some interesting dialogue that the previous show opened up. Thank you, Quick 504, said one of my favorite content creators. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Some interesting dialogue opened up. Now, yesterday, we knew that there was a young lady in here named Leia who was making her comments, and she actually left a comment underneath the video. But there was another comment aside from her that caught my attention more so. And I'm going to find it and I'm going to read it to you. We're going to find this comment, and I'm going to read it to you. Okay. The comment was you and many others need to go back and do your homework. The Color Purple was a fiction written by Alice Walker, as if we don't know that The Color Purple is a fictional literary work. I don't know nobody that was confuzzled on the fact that The Color Purple is a work of fiction. I didn't know nobody that was confused about that. The Color Purple was a fiction written by Alice Walker. The movie was produced by Steven Spielberg and Oprah. We know. It's a movie. We know. Here's the part that I thought was amazing. No one was brainwashed off a fictional movie, but black women who already had major issues. You are spilling falsehoods about the movie. Please do your homework before speaking on things you don't know. The movie was never about Oprah's life. We know that. Fictional books and movies are for entertainment. Tell that to your subconscious that welcomes it for truth. Tell that to your subconscious mind. I thought that comment was amazing. To the point where I commented, I said, this comment is amazing. It dismisses the demonstrable fact that people can be influenced by popular media and other forms of propaganda. Simply because it is a work of fiction makes its influence non-existent. That's an amazing assessment, to believe that culture does not influence entire groups of people. That was not a woman that left that comment. That was a man that left that comment. Okay? That was not a woman's comment. Thank you, Miss Beth Shua. Say, hey, sis. Hey, how you doing, sweetheart? This is why we stay losing as a people. This is why we are losing as a people. Because, thank you, Abdul Aline said, common sense is not so common anymore. No, it is not. No, it is not. And thank you, beloved. We failing as a people, y'all, because it go even deeper than I thought. When I said that we don't understand as a group collectively, we don't understand biology, culture, and environment, let alone not understanding what a biocult irony is. Thank you again. Quick 504 said, give us the word. He'll become fictional too. It goes deeper than I thought it went. When I said we didn't understand this, see, I didn't know. I thought that the majority of us, especially as black people in this country, I thought we knew firsthand for a fact what propaganda was. I just assumed that everybody knew what propaganda was. I just thought we understood that. I just thought that was a baseline. Maybe it was me. I'm speechless, y'all. Thank you, Mogul said the book and movie are very egregious and atrocious towards black men. I read a couple of pages of the book and had to put it down. It was worse than the film. I assumed that it was. I've never read it. And see, the reason why I'm not talking about the book versus the film is because the book wouldn't have had the same effect had it not been adapted into a movie. You see what I mean? Thank you, Miss Almond I said, who told Harpo to leave comments? Exactly. I just thought it was a common knowledge that we understood that regardless of a movie or a television show being fictional, that it could still influence people. I just assumed everybody understood that. I just thought we did. I just thought that we did. I don't think there was anybody that didn't know that this was a fictional novel. Thank you, Stardust. The book and film are both Hyena manuscripts. Yeah, definitely. And thank you. You know, that's how Hitler rose to power. He utilized, chief among his many tactics, he utilized propaganda in the media, various types of movies and, advertisements and state-funded PSAs and things of that nature to influence an entire people to such an extent that it was acceptable for a section of that society to put the other section to death. Thank you again, Abdul Alim. So here's the thing, we did at one time was able to understand that. The vast majority today have no clue. I don't. This worse than I thought. Thank you, Eugene. So the color purple reminds me of how feminism played off women's emotions. Suge Avery was the feminist in the movie. Do you agree? Of course, she's just the main feminist, but she's not the only one. Thank you, Quick 504. So a lot of people still operate at a low frequency. That ain't even the word. Like, I just thought we understood that. I'm at a loss for words because if we don't understand the function of propaganda and how popular media, movies, televisions, advertisements, commercials, various forms of print and visual media influences the mind, influences the subconscious, influences. Why do we think that there's a such thing as commercials? There's a such thing as commercials to influence you to purchase the good or the service that the commercial is promoting. It go right into your subconscious. We all remember old commercials that don't even exist anymore. We remember Toys R Us. Toys R Us has been out of business for many, many, many years now. I was a little kid when them commercials used to come out and say, I don't want to grow up Maybe if I did, I wouldn't be a Toys R Us kid. More games, more toys. Oh boy, I wouldn't be a Toys R Us kid. I remember Jeffrey the Giraffe. If that's not propaganda, then I wouldn't remember it because it's been too long. Thank you, Tom Etheridge said Alice Walker dated Tracy Chapman. Let that sink in. Uh, uh, Thank you, Jordan said we have a habit of making elements of entertainment a part of culture. It's so ingrained people take entertainment as truth. Exactly. Thank you, Miss 39 Dina. All of the commercials that we see is propaganda. They pay people. Marketing firms are paid anywhere from tens of hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars. Companies, marketing budgets, depending on the size of the company, can go anywhere from a couple of $100s to a couple of $1,000s to $1 million or more for the marketing budget. And that's just not creating the commercial or hiring the actors or paying somebody to do the animations. Or that's not just that. That cost includes studying the psychology of the targeted audience to see what would work best for that particular kind of audience, and then create a marketing strategy specifically built on what would be the best, most effective psychological approach to get the most desired result from the targeted demographic that you're aiming for. I thought we understood that. Thank you, Mogul May. Said people fail to realize one of the earliest movies was Birth of a Nation to promote white supremacy and portray derogatory images of black people. In this film, bankroll a major film studio. Thank you. We don't know. Thank you, R. Lee. Said propaganda is purposely slanted information to influence a point of view that's passed off as a fact. Takes a critical thinker to be able to tell the difference. Thank you. Thank you, Quick 504. Said they market more to women because they are the spenders and pass information around friends and family, especially talk shows. Thank you so much. Thank you again, Stardust. Said D.W. Griffith. Right. Right. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to try to go into the movie itself, the story, what we get out of the story. I'm flabbergasted. It took the wind out of my sails, actually, today. I'm going to be really honest with you guys. Reading that comment, it just deflated me. And the reason why it deflated me is because I don't have time, nor really the inclination to teach that. And I really don't think that I need to, because I think that my audience is smart enough. So I don't think that I need to do that, but it did leave me speechless. It did it confused me, and it disheartened me, because we don't know about propaganda. Because that's what this is. This is propaganda. The Color Purple Hollywood production was a hit piece on the black male image, and it was the thing that flowered the seeds of what we think of as the modern day gender war. That movie had you mad at every black man that you saw outside of that, because of the way in which black men were portrayed at every turn in that movie. Let's talk about the main protagonist, which is Celie. Celie grows up with trauma. Thank you, Gabriella. So I've had people tell me they don't like to think. Ooh. Oh, baby. Ooh, Miss Gabriella. Oh, don't. That just hit my heart. Don't like to think. Ooh, that's why we fail as a people. That's why we failing as a people. Oh, wow. Okay. Celie grows up in trauma. I thought it was interesting in the movie that the focus was on Celie, Nettie, and the father. That the father, or really the stepfather, impregnated Celie twice, took her children from her, was able to do all of these things to Celie. We didn't even see the mother. Did y'all notice that in the movie? We never saw Celie's mother. Who did Celie pattern herself after? Who was the mom? And the mom passed away in the movie. We never see her. We never hear her voice. We never see her move around. We never see her interact. We don't see her at all. So how is it this woman in this movie completely bypasses all accountability for bringing such a man into the lives of her girls? Did we get that part? She don't have no culpability in marrying such a man. Her first husband is alluded to at the end of the movie when Celie's talking about how she got an inheritance. Apparently, Celie's mother's first husband was good enough to leave her the land and the home. The mother thought well enough of Celie, which was that man's biological daughter, to then leave her in a will, apparently, this inheritance. Now, why she didn't get that inheritance upon becoming an adult, I don't know. But nevertheless, this is the dynamic. And we don't have much to draw on for who Celie's mother is. But this woman gets to not be accountable. She's a victim. We don't know her, but we are left to assume that if he was impregnating Celie twice, then Celie's mother didn't have no say-so or could not exercise any type of protection over her daughters. But we don't get to blame the mother for not protecting. Thank you, Bio. So they tried to do the same thing to Asian community with Joy Luck Club. Movie in the 90s, it didn't work. They ignored it. Yeah. Thank you, Moses. So psychological warfare has been and is still being focused, targeted towards us via entertainment. The majority of us as a people are disinterested in boring STEM subjects. Precisely. Thank you so very much. So we don't know what happened. We don't know if he deleted her mother. We don't know if she died of sickness. We don't know if she passed away because she was just too hurt watching her daughters undergo abuse by this man. We don't know what her story is. We have no idea. All that we have is Celie and Nettie. And through trauma, they bonded, not only as sisters, but they stuck by each other because they understood each other's trauma. And all of that trauma come from the men in their lives. Mr. had been watching Nettie in church, mind you. He had been eyeballing Nettie for a long time. He finally comes to get Nettie's hand in marriage. Nettie's father, who had designs on Nettie for himself, denies Mr. the opportunity to marry Nettie, and he opts instead for Celie. He brings Celie out. Now, Celie is supposed to be this very ugly, very unattractive little girl and ugly, unattractive woman. Okay? So when he sees Celie, his face drops. He came with a smile because he thought he was going to get Nettie. He didn't get Nettie. He got Celie. Now, the interesting part is he could have denied that and said, well, you know what? If I can't have Nettie, I certainly don't want Celie. And he could have left her alone and went to go and get another woman to marry. However, he didn't do that. He understood Celie's quality as a woman. Now, her father told him a couple of things about Celie that were unflattering. He told him that Celie was ugly, so that already paint something in his head. Then he tells him that Celie has been spoiled twice, meaning she's a 2-time baby mother. Now, what was interesting with that is that he says it as if that was Celie's choice. He says it as if Celie Celie had been a promiscuous little girl and had gotten knocked up. And that they had to sort of cover her tracks and pretend she'd have those kids. But she's a hard worker. So what he's telling Mr. is, you can utilize her as a slave. And you can also have sex with her. She's not no stranger to sex. So you can have sex with her. Mr. takes it. And he abuses Celie for several reasons. He abuses Celie for not being netty. Later on, when Celie is an adult, he abuses her for not being shug. He abuses her for not being a virgin. So he has these very low concepts of her. He abuses her for not being beautiful. And he abuses her because she's obviously already been abused. It was easy. Thank you, Bethshua. So I appreciate your breakdown of The Color Purple. I was 10 years old in 86 and had no idea the subliminal messaging. I see the movie differently now. Definitely. Definitely. So we get Mr. And notice that Celie always calls him Mr. Celie's grown before she realizes that Mr. has a first name and it's Albert. Shug, she don't know it's Albert until Shug calls him Albert. Now, Celie gets to that household and brings order to it. She brings the order to the chaotic household. Now, what message do that say? That black men can't bring their own order. That black women have to come into the lives of black men and bring order to them. Not the other way around. Mr. should have already had order. This is a man that has a field, he has land, he has money, he has livestock. His place and his life should be regimented. How else to get the work done? Celie goes into that home and it's so grimy and nasty in the kitchen. The kitchen has cobwebs. She has to get a hot water and a rag to wipe the wall to reveal that there's actually wallpaper underneath the layer of dirt. Now, they don't give us a time span between his first wife's death and his marriage to Celie. But the condition of the home would indicate that it had been quite some time. Okay? Quite some time. However, somehow the farm was running. Somehow money was being made. Somehow things was getting done on that piece of land, but somehow mysteriously without no order. And it took a woman to come bring order to Mr.'s life. reality, Mr. is a high value man in terms of his money. Mr.'s not broke. I find that the entire movie, before we go on, the entire movie makes more sense if these people are white. Because just like feminism, and we know that Alice Walker was a staunch, radical feminist that was also a lesbian. So we understand where the misandry comes from. We know that feminism was white. Feminism comes from white folk. And feminism was a white woman's fight. White women had feminism because of the heavy-handed, tyrannical treatment, oppressive treatment of white men. So they needed feminism to try to alleviate some of that oppression. Because you notice in the movie that white supremacy does not have an overwhelming impact on the lives of black people, even though this story is set between like 1905 to like 1940. How is possible that white supremacy, segregation, racism, lynching, how is possible that these things are not having a day-to-day direct effect on the lives of black people in this era? How is possible? Yet in the story, that's not the focal point. The focal point is not white supremacy. White supremacy is not bothering them. That's because the characters in The Color Purple is white. In blackface. White problems in blackface. The Color Purple is white problems in blackface. Let's see. We got heavy-handed oppression of the men who are also providing for the women. So the men are providing house and home and hearth and clothes and food and all that stuff to the women, but they treat the women horribly. The women are just a little bit above animals to them. We had rampant incest. Okay? On some heels have eyes type of time. Having 2 babies and all that kind of stuff, and then selling the babies off and auctioning off they girl children to men much older than them for marriage without much thought about who this man is, because it doesn't matter, because all of the men think and act and have the same perspective of life. And these women needed to bond together in order to be able to have some kind of freedom. These is white women problems. And all while this is going on, the environment, the racism and white supremacy is not a bother to them. That's because they white. It's white problems in blackface. Thank you, Fourth Dimension, saying maybe I missed it, but do you know they literally just remade the movie with Halle Bailey? Yes, I do. Thank you again, Stardust says suffrage movement was occurring around that time. Thank you. Thank you. Because the first wave of feminism began in the late 1800s. Thank you, Gregory Scotland says salute. Depending on how a number of black women speak about The Color Purple when it comes out in December could provide even more ammunition for passport bros and SYSVM, what they praise and what they choose to condemn. Thank you so much. So we had a woman, a black woman run in directly with white supremacists, but not the men. Which, even though I'm skipping around, because I'll never intended to go scene for scene, let's talk about that incident with Sophia. Let's talk about the incident with Sophia that got Sophia locked up. That white man was the mayor of that town. And it was his wife that was fawning all over Sophia's children. And it was his wife that asked Sophia if she would like to be her maid. And Sophia said emphatically, no. Cussed her and said no. And then when the white lady got offended, her husband, the mayor, came over there and was confronting Sophia, asked her exactly what she said. And Sophia repeated what she had said. Swain, which was Lawrence Fishburne's character, was a black man that Sophia knew who was there with her. Yet it was Sophia, a black woman, that had to stand her ground in front of an angry mob of white people. Swain did not step in. He did not pull her away. He did not do anything. The only thing that Swain did in that moment was take Sophia's children and safeguard them. No man defended her. But that's not so much what I want to talk about. I want to talk about what that gave, what subliminal message that said that black women have to be in the forefront, on the front lines, and black men cower behind them. Did we get that? Did we get that? Did we get that that's what that scene was about? That Sophia was the one that had to stand in the face of violent, direct white supremacy and racism, and that black men do not do this. So there was no real instance in this whole entire movie where black men stood for anything, where they stood for right, or did right, or protected, or problem solved for the women, or loved them, or truly provided for them, or did anything for the women that men do for women. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I talked yesterday about Celie being only one of two lionesses in this movie, her and her sister. And that femininity did not pay off for them. Again, another white topic. another white topic. That was another white woman's problem. No matter how submissive and quiet she was going to get popped in the mouth by her husband. Because her husband did not respect women. Black men have never done that. As a whole, as a group, black men have never oppressed black women. As a whole, as a group, black men do not think that black women are not quite human. Black men don't think that. Thank you so much, Tokyo Traveler. So I'm really digging your analysis of The Color Purple. I got to put something in the collection plate. I can't count how many times I've said exactly while listening to your analysis. Thank you so much. Thank you, New York G-Man. Said, Mrs. Kendra, you are a super dope content creator. I love your show. Please keep up what you're doing. Saving black love. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mar A, for your super sticker. I thank you so incredibly much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. When we think about the trajectory of Celie and Nettie, two lionesses that never got rewarded for being feminine and beautiful women. They never got rewarded for being good. They never got rewarded for being upstanding or kind or gentle or loving. Celie raised children that she did not have because Celie didn't have no kids with Mr. And she raised them kids. She was a child herself. She wasn't hardly no more older than them. And she raised them. That alone is commendable. Any other man would have been pleased. You know, maybe you aren't the most beautiful woman that I wouldn't have picked, but I'm telling you, over these last couple of years, you ain't been nothing but good to me. And you've been good to my kids. You feed me these wonderful dinners. You cleaned up the place. And I feel so much better running this place and running this home with you. A woman like that would have earned the love of her husband, even if he did not love her when he married her. A woman like that would have earned that love. She would have earned it from him. He wouldn't have been able to do nothing but love her after that. Like, I gotta respect you. And I gotta look. Listen, bet not nobody talk about her. Bet not nobody talk about her. He'd have got them kids in order. Y'all better not talk back to her. Leave her alone. Leave that woman alone. The mere actions of Celie, even if he wanted Suge and wanted to have sex with Suge, he wouldn't have brought her to the house. He wouldn't have disrespected Celie like that. Even if he wasn't sexually attracted to Celie, he was sexually attracted to Suge, he'd kept Suge out there. And she definitely wouldn't have been able to disrespect Celie to her face. Call her ugly. No. Turn her back around. You don't say that to her. I may think that. You may think that. But you're not going to say it to her. She actually too good, and you're not going to do it. But we got a monster. A heartless scumbag that couldn't even muster up basic respect for a woman that had given her all to him. That is not even in the wheelhouse of men. That's not even in their nature. That might be in a Caucasoid nature. That might be in a Caucasus mountain nature. That might be in a Scandinavian nature. That might be in a Norseman's nature. But they're not in no melanated nature. They're not in no melanated nature. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Thank you, Roderick. Said, thank you so much. I've never seen the movie from beginning to end. Wow, that movie did more damage than I realized. An extreme amount of damage. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, B said they also try to portray black men as disrespectful to black women because Suge's husband and Mr. bonded around their sexual relationship with Suge, all while ignoring Suge's disrespect for bringing her husband to her other man's home. The disrespect of that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Leon said, knowledge goes a long way. I appreciate the education. Thank you so much. Thank you, Top Boxer. Said the hardest thing for a person to do is try to unlearn, is learn, unlearn, and relearn. Thank you for all you do to destroy narratives. Thank you so much. See, all of that might be in a, you know, in a Scottish nature, in a Nordic nature. Cause it don't matter how good you is to them, they don't change their mind about it. You still nothing to them. If you was nothing to them, you nothing. You nothing. You'll never be nothing. They don't care what you do. See, that's them. Melanated men. Yeah, a Neanderthal nature. Thank you, that it might be in a troglodyte nature. Did you understand that? Do you understand what I'm talking about? But it's not in a melanated nature. It's not in a Kemetic, ancient Kemetic nature. You see what I'm saying? It's not in an indigenous nature. It's not in there. Thank you, Pierre d'Elegance. Said my grandmother, who was white, said her father used to beat her mother back in the 1940s and 50s. Thank you so much. Y'all are starting to clown in this chat. But it's just not, what I'm trying to say is black men don't do that. Black men do not do that. Are there some black men? Are there some male hyenas, these maggles running around here that ain't got nothing going on for themselves, that might actually be putting their hands on somebody, call themselves trying to put some hands on somebody and mistreat folk and act crazy with folk. Of course there are. There's always bad apples in the bunch. There's always bad apples in the bunch all the time. We're not saying that there's never a bad apple in the bunch. We are not saying that at all. We are not saying that there aren't any black men out here that, God forbid, that a woman come across his path. I've seen some of these men. Okay? I've seen some of these men. I have witnessed some of these men that you don't dare go to him and be nothing to him. You're not supposed to be anything to him. He needs somebody to pop him upside his head. Okay? Somebody need to come get him and pop him upside of his head. Okay? He don't need no woman. Because he don't know how to treat nobody. He don't know what to do with nobody. All he know how to do is mistreat folk and act a fool and argue. He don't know how to give no 4 P's. He don't know what to do with no providing. He ain't solving no problems. He ain't protecting nobody. He don't know how to love nobody. There are some broken men. Okay? There are some broken men. There are some broken black men that you know would not dare send a woman to him. But the problem is that the propaganda of movies like this portrayed them all like that. No matter what walk of life he came from, or where he came from, or who he was in this woman's life, or anything, that all of them are like that. All of the black men. By this propaganda not having one positive black man in this movie that was strong, that was of a strong presence, and he stood for righteousness, and he stood for good, and he represented the best of black men, or the best of what black men had to offer. Because there wasn't one, you understand? That's the subliminal, subconscious message, that there aren't any. Because if there were, there would have been one somewhere around. These are the seeds for the modern day gender war. Because black women ran with what was given to them subconsciously through these movies, through this movie in particular. The message that Celie's femininity was her Achilles heel, that in order to become a better, stronger woman, she had to give up her femininity. That was represented by her selling pants to women. Do we understand that? That's what she did. That what that represented. She sold pants to women. In a time where women did not wear pants. That was decidedly masculine during that time period. Women did not wear pants. Women wore dresses. And women wore skirts. And women were feminine. And you know who else wore those pants? Harpo. Those were flowery pants that Sophia wore. Miss Celie had on a pair of pants she gave that same pair to Harpo. And he said, how is it that a pair of pants that fit Sophia are gonna fit me too? And she said, Harpo, I meant what I said. One size fit all. She was not talking about them pants. Do you understand me? Thank you, Ralph Dupre said, hey, TT Crimson, you currently are the only auntie I have. I purchased your book, gave it to aunties. Now they would not answer my call. Love you, TT. Keep cooking. Thank you so much, sweetheart. She was not talking about those pants. She said, I told you, Harpo, one size fits all. Harpo was effeminized. And what is she talking about? The mindset for everybody. One mindset for everybody. No differentiation. There is not any real biological difference between you as a man and Sophia as a woman. So the pants that she wear is the same pants you can wear, and vice versa. Biologically and culturally, there is no difference. That's the new era. That's the new thing that we're gonna do as black people. No difference between the men and the women. One size fits all. Celie had to give up her femininity to be successful. She became a businesswoman. She was by herself. She had no male companion. And she was reunited with 2 children with no father. Nettie had to raise those 2 kids with no husband. And that was a happy ending. Are y'all understanding this? That was a happy ending. No righteous, upstanding male leadership in that family. By the end, there was no one. No one. The women ruled the roost, and it was only then that there was peace, when the women ruled it. Thank you, Ralph. Once again, said, pardon my interruption, TT. How could one movie do this to our culture? Black women must have wanted to back away already, because it played. I'm gonna tell you how this movie did this, how it was able to do so. It played on the seeds that had already been planted by feminism. Second wave feminism, as we know, happened at least 20 years or so prior to the Hollywood production and adaptation of The Color Purple as a movie. The seeds of disdain and contempt against black men had already been planted with another movie that preceded it that also said that men, while not being abusive, were also not fully men, not to be trusted to provide. And that movie was Claudine. See, James Earl Jones was not abusive in the movie. He was ready to marry Claudine, but she didn't trust him to provide. Couldn't be trusted. So that was one facet. Okay? That's the teaspoon before the tablespoon. See, they jumped out the window with Color Purple, but you can't jump out the window first. You got to jump out the window later. So see, that showed another side. In Claudine, James Earl Jones was not an abuser. He wasn't beating on her. He wasn't doing nothing to Claudine. He was trying to be with her. That's all he was trying to do. But she didn't trust him to be the head of her family, to be the provider of her family, or anything of the sort. So he was not a good choice as a black man either. Chose the state over him. Chose the state over him. She did that repeatedly throughout the movie. She kept not dealing with him on the terms that she should have been dealing with him. Then you skip forward about 20 years or so into The Color Purple. Now, not only are the men unable to be trusted, they're monsters on top of it. Worse than the white man. Because in The Color Purple, we don't even think about the white man. We don't even think about the overwhelming racism and white supremacy that had to be going on in that era. We don't even touch it. Thank you, Miss Raven. Said, peace, Kendra. It's been so long. Hope you're well and congrats on your marriage. R.I.P. to Tina. Yeah, R.I.P. to Tina. Thank you so much, Miss Raven. I hope you're doing well, sweetheart. Thank you, Keith. Said, The Color Purple is part of the Matrix. Definitely. Thank you, Bio. Said it was Julia in the early 70s with Diane Carroll. Yeah. Diane Carroll played a lot of them feminist roles. Soft feminists. She was a soft feminist. What I mean by that is she was not aggressive or uber masculine or anything like that, but she held on to and lived out feminist ideals. Diane Carroll was sort of like the black Mary Tyler Moore. That's how it always struck me in my mind. So we have to connect these dots. The Color Purple was a movie that damaged almost beyond repair the relationship between black men and black women because it infected black women against black men. I told you. That movie had you mad at black men. It had you mad at your mom, at your daddy. It had you mad at your brothers and your uncles and stuff. It had you mad. It had you mad. The movie itself, yeah, she was feminine in 5 Heartbeats. She was always trying to tell him don't do the managing and stuff. Don't tell her husband Jimmy don't do no managing. But Diane Carroll was always like feminine. She was always feminine. She wasn't like super masculine or anything like that. But she held the ideals. See, stages and degrees. You can't come out with the masculine feminist first because black women were feminine. So you can't hit us with an abrasive concept of us not being feminine because we're going to reject that. But if you give us A feminist idea in a feminine package will take it. And that's what we did. Because even when you hear the feminists of the 60s and 50s, they're feminine. They are feminine. They are soft-spoken. They are articulate. They are not loud and boisterous. But they hold them ideas. They hold them dangerous ideas. And they act them out and they live them out. Thank you, Keith. Said my wife was mad at me after we saw Color Purple. Yeah. Thank you, Utah. Said, do you think the young women today are progressing better when it comes to white supremacy than the women of baby boomer and Gen X generations? I think that they are trying to shake out of feminism faster. Because the failure is so obvious of it. But I don't think it's going fast enough. Even in the movie The Color Purple, Suge is a 304, but she feminine. Sophia was the only overtly masculine one. But Suge was feminine, like most hoes. Most hoes know how to be feminine. Most hoes know how to be feminine. And they know how to put that on. Suge was feminine when she wanted to be. She had all in little dresses and get her little room. Suge was feminine. But she was a feminist as well. She was feminine. That's one of the reasons why Albert liked her so much. Before I cut out, let's talk about Mr. and the birth of the simp. The simp. This is how we know Mr. is a maggle. This is how we know Mr. is a maggle. Mr. is not a lion. Mr. is not an alpha. Mr. is a hyena. Because the first thing he did was ruin a lioness. And that's what maggles do. That's what they do. That's why I warn a lioness against a maggle. Do not get caught up with no male hyena. If you a lioness, it's not going to end well. Not going to end well. Male hyenas despise all the good feminine qualities of a lioness. They despise them. Despise. Maggles despise lionesses. They despise them. Mr. was a maggle. Mr. is a male hyena. He don't got no order. He doesn't have system, order, and structure. Doesn't have good leadership. He don't have none of that. Mr. didn't have none of that. He was a simp. Because how is it that you pine after a woman that you know is in the street, that don't have no respect for you, that doesn't really even respect herself? She's got a problem. You know she be all over everywhere. And every time she even sniff like she come into town, you roll out the red carpet for her. You do anything for her. She tell you anything and you just go. To the point where she can bring her men to you and you accept it. The birth of the maggle. It taught that our men should run after the whore and mistreat the feminine good woman. Be kind, be nice, give your attention, give your money. To the best of your ability, give your 4 P's to women that don't belong to you, to women that belong to the streets, and women that don't even like you. Because you think she's a bad bee. I told you Suge was the first city girl. And the woman that give her all to you and sacrifice for you and love you and this, that, and that, don't pay her no attention, disrespect her and abuse her. She's nothing. She's nothing. That was the anatomy of a simp. Mr. is the anatomy of a simp. He put on his cape every time Suge came around. He had that white night cape on. Every single time. She could do no wrong. He's a simp because he didn't have no standards. A simp because he couldn't recognize a good woman from a woman of ill repute and desired the one of ill repute. He would have gave her anything. He would have given Suge anything. Suge gave him nothing. A little sex here and there, but who didn't she get at to? Thank you, Bio 1656. Said the fuse was Alexis Carrington on Dynasty, and the term B. I remember black girls was using the term when I was in high school in the early 80s. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Utah. Again, so when you say maggle, are you saying simp interchangeably? Yeah, pretty much. Mr. was unconscionable. Okay. He's the anatomy of a simp. He's everything a black man should never be. They highlighted it as a good that he was simping after Suge. See, black men knew not to be the monster. You didn't have to convince black men not to be monstrous. You have to convince them to not beat on women like that and curse them and abuse them and try them underfoot and stand on their necks like that. Black men know that that's not good. They know that that's not what you do. If you want a woman to love you and respect you and stuff like that, you don't get that through fear and being a tyrant over them and things of that nature. You don't have to convince black men of that. The underlying thing that movie convinced black men about was be a simp, because if it was going to promote Suge as the way women need to be, then the only way women get validated is when men validate them. So it also had to teach that black men should validate women like Suge. That was the lesson of Mr. He was only nice when it was Suge. He was only cool when it was Suge. You only saw his humanity when he dealt with Suge. It's the only time you saw it. A straight up whore. That was what black men were supposed to get out of that. That if we going to say that Suge Avery is the quintessential woman that black women need to pattern themselves after, then we also have to tell men that they should desire such women. And that women like Celie, who were feminine, who were wifely women, who were righteous, good women, who were kind-hearted women, who weren't promiscuous women, not all over the place. They're not for the streets and things like that. You have to ingrain in black men's minds that these women are not good enough to be treated well. You get them and you use them because this is the woman that's going to hold you down. But you cannot like her and you can't be sexually attracted to her either because she ugly. Y'all don't hear me. Only the whore is attractive. Interesting that they got a young Whoopi Goldberg to be Celie. Young Whoopi Goldberg was not ugly. She actually had, first of all, a young Whoopi Goldberg was bodied. Okay, Whoopi had a pretty body. She wasn't all that into showing it all the time. But if you remember her from them 80s movies, Jumpin' Jack Flash and all of them, Whoopi had big old pretty legs, a little bitty waistline. Whoopi had, come on now. She had them big old black eyes. She wasn't always caked up with makeup. She was naturally what she was. Whoopi wasn't ugly. Young Whoopi Goldberg was not ugly at all. But that's the psyop to black men. I'm going to break that down. I'm going to break that down. The psyop for black men was to divorce the concept of the wife, the good woman, from the woman that you are attracted to. Do you understand that? You get the woman that's going to hold you down. But you don't got to treat her good. You don't got to love her. And you definitely don't have to be sexually attracted to her. You can do anything to her. And she's supposed to stay there and be loyal and not say anything because she's not even really a woman. The only women that are actual women are the women that are out there, the whores. You know not to bring her home because she's not going to hold you down. But you're sexually attracted to her and she's a real woman. Well, Whoopi shouldn't have been messing around with them white men. That's what she kind of get, messing around with them white men. I don't feel sorry for that. I don't feel sorry for that at all. But just like Grace Jones messing around with them white men. Leave them white men out. Leave them white men alone. Grace Jones was another one. Beautiful. She just didn't have conventional beauty. You got to look at Grace Jones. You got to look at Whoopi and see and really see how pretty they are. They not women that you be like, oh my God, they so drop dead gorgeous. They not them kind of women. The Grace Jones and the Whoopi Goldberg, they're not them kind of women. You got to look at Grace and see how beautiful her dark skin is. It's flawless. How beautiful her body was. How pretty the arch of her eyes were. You have to look at her to see that. You got to really look at her to see. She wasn't one of them. She wasn't the Halle Berrys and she wasn't one of them women, fine. Just when you look at her, everybody thinks she fine. Nuh-uh. right? She wasn't modeling for nothing. She had a lot of strong facial features, but they were pretty. They were pretty facial features. It didn't help her that she was always doing something masculine, but Grace, in my opinion, Grace Jones was very pretty. Grace Jones was very pretty. I saw her beauty. Thank you, Brian Yates. Said the Godfather KS message was so powerful they had to reboot The Color Purple after he passed and reset the status quo. Right. Right. But did y'all understand what I said about how it was supposed to affect black men? That hit black men's psyche too. So they'll go and get a black woman that's the wife, not necessarily attracted to her. She don't got the same appeal as the whore in the street. Now he might not be whooping on her and doing all that other kind of extreme stuff like Mr. was doing, but that was the part that was supposed to affect black men. That your wife at home was not as alluring and could never be as alluring as the woman in the street. Thank you, Miss Jordanville. Said, I'm 21, coming of age. The Jezebel archetype was promoted as beautiful, especially on social media, but guys with a good head on their shoulders looked for otherwise. Exactly. There are men with good head on their shoulders. They know how to pick the wife. But the woman in the street is alluring. But we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. I thank y'all for coming with me on this journey. We're going to talk about something else tomorrow. This was my color purple breakdown. I did create a separate, playlist for this, just for this. So you could be able to come back to it when you get ready. You don't have to search through everything. But I do thank you. I do thank you for your contributions. I thank you for your participation. I really appreciate everything that you do and being here. Okay? CrimsonCure.com. Get your copy of Reclaiming the Black Feminine, Lies of Feminism and the Road to Recovery. Get your copy at CrimsonCure.com. Also a digital copy on Amazon. The links are in the description box as well. Once again, thank you so much. Jump down in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think. Like, share, subscribe to the channel if you have not. Once again, I'm your host of Crimson Cure. And this was my perspective. Bye-bye, Crimsonites.